on your website, it does also mention that you do group analytical therapy. Could you explain a little bit about that and how that differs from individual therapy, sort of a group therapy with other people, and also how that works in practice really with your clients?
One of the key ingredients is that people very quickly realize that they're not on their own with the difficulties. Other people experience something similar, but people can be at different stages in their own journey. And sometimes in a group, someone can really speak to something and just say a beautiful sentence about something, and other people are thinking, my goodness, that really fits for me, but I just couldn't even find the words.
Yeah.
Group psychotherapy works really in a way as a mirror, that we can often see the good things in other people, but we're not so good at seeing the good things in ourselves. But when we look around in a group and we can see those qualities, and then we start to take those back in for ourselves and have a kinder relationship with ourselves. But we can also get very important feedback from other people as well. Sometimes that can be quite tough, but it can also be helpful as well.
So that's also lead me on to how many people are involved sometimes in the group sessions. Is there a minimum that there has to be, or a maximum? How do you practically sort of work that out?
I think the minimum is really 3, because 2's a couple.
Yeah.
And the maximum is probably around 7 or 8 people for small group therapy, because it reflects the family dynamics. So it brings up aspects around sibship, parental kind of attachments as well. Yeah. So I think that's the comfortable space really for people. But I'm also, it probably is 8 people plus myself. Yeah. So as the therapist, I am also part of the group. Folks used to say that the group psychotherapy is in and of and for the individual. Right. So I'm always learning as well in the group, but I have a very different role as a group psychotherapist to an individual psychotherapist. Well, one of the ideas a lot of people have is they think it's a bit like an AA meeting, an Alcohol Anonymous meeting, where people have to stand up and say their name and kind of confess what's been difficult for them. It's very different to that. It can be very anxiety provoking to start with, and because you're meeting strangers. Yeah. But the beauty of meeting strangers is they're not your family, and you can go in and be yourself. But it does take time to settle in to the group and let the anxiety settle. There isn't a set agenda, but the group starts on time and the group finishes on time. Yeah. And each session, I have no idea where the conversation is going to go, but it always goes somewhere. Yeah.
And I think that brings me on to another question. How long do these groups often sort of stay together to work as a group?
I would say the minimum recommendation would be is to join the group for a year, but then expect to stay for longer. Okay. It's interesting, a year can feel like a long time, but once you get to the 6-month point, you think, oh my goodness, time has really flown, and you're just getting your feet in under the table. They can be open-ended, so people can stay for longer. So it's a very kind of personal preference. But what is important is actually part of the therapy is also being able to leave the group and to feel that you're ready to leave the group, and also to tell the group that you want to leave. That can be really interesting, because the group may really not want you to leave for their own benefit, but you have to then say, well, actually, I am ready to leave. And there is a sadness and loss, and working through that also brings up some of our life experiences as well. So being able to say goodbye is a really important part of the therapy.
Well, that's really interesting. That's given us a really good insight into the group therapy sort of dynamic and how it can benefit people.